Hi, and welcome to a brief introduction of the gastrointestinal tract of a horse. So we're going to go through some of the major organs that play a major role in digestion, as well as some of the other major organs throughout the system. So we're going to start with the horse's head here. This is the head. Here is the mouth opening and the tongue. This is the beginning of the tract that will take in food, called prehension, and it will masticate the food, which means chew it, which will start to break down the food both chemically and a little bit enzymatically. And this tongue will push the food down into the pharynx, which is also known as the throat. And there are two major pathways the food could go down. The first is going to be the trachea. The trachea brings air into the lungs, but because they have a specialized flap called the epiglottis, that will close when food is going down the other one. But here the lungs, or here the air will go into the lungs. The other option would be the esophagus, which is the small thin tube that is muscular to push food down into the stomach for further digestion. The esophagus will go through the heart, not go through it, but pass through the cavity, past the heart, and also past the diaphragm. The heart is important in the digestive tract because it supplies blood to many of the major organs that need blood. And then the diaphragm is important because the GI tract shares the body cavity with a much different organs that have different functions. So the diaphragm controls breathing through the pharynx nerve, which is located here, and this is the diaphragm. So we keep going through, and we will reach the stomach. And the stomach here is composed of three separate sections. That's going to be the fundus, the body, and the antrum. The stomach is really important in chemical digestion. There are many enzymes and hydrochloric acid that is secreted at this area that will break down macromolecules into smaller ones so that they can be absorbed into the system farther down the tract, which we will get to in 1 second. Surrounding the stomach, there are a few other major organs that we need to talk about that play a really important role in the GI tract. The first is going to be located above the stomach. This is the spleen, which is important in the lymphatic system, and it regulates a lot of the bodily fluids. And then down here is, of course, our liver. Our liver is important in digestion because of the way it will store and release bile salts into the tract. And bile, of course, is created by the gallbladder down here, and it will also send the bile here, and the liver will do a good job of recycling materials throughout the system with the small intestine, and make sure that nutrients are being correctly absorbed and reabsorbed into the system. So next up, we are going to have our pancreas, which is located right here underneath the stomach. This is a huge component in the digestion within the stomach. This right here is going to send out many exocrine secretions to stimulate the cells that are going to release enzymes for breakdown of food. So next up, the food in the stomach was just digested a little bit, mixed up, and that mix up of food is called chyme. Chyme is going to continue through the GI tract down into the small intestine. The first section of the small intestine is known as the duodenum. That's going to go through here. And then the next section is known as the jejunum, and the final section is the ileum. The small intestine is less important and less big in the horse, but they have multiple microvilli, which are important for absorption and of important nutrients. Finally, we're going to get to the hindgut of the horse. This is super important in the horse because they are known as hindgut fermenters. So this orange here is going to be the large intestine. The large intestine is broken up into a couple different sections: the ascending colon, the transverse colon, the descending colon, and the sigmoid colon. And then it branches off into the rectum and anus. This right here is one of the major components of the hindgut. This is the cecum. And the cecum is super important because there are many microorganisms living in there that are going to ferment food and break down the hard materials like cellulose that the horse has eaten. And so that's important in their digestion system. And then finally, with this rectum, ignore the strawberry that it has excreted out. The waste is going to be excreted through the rectum, and that's anything that the horse's body did not absorb, and things that it may not need. So it goes out this end. And then there are also the kidneys, which will process waste materials, and then it will be also excreted through the ureters down into the bladder and excreted out through urine. So hopefully you enjoyed this little diagram, and hope you learned something. Thank you.